to another episode of the Last of Us Talk Show. I'm your host, Mikey, and today we are doing the spoiler review for Season 1, Episode 2, Infected. Again, we are keeping this new format. We did the instant reaction, we're doing the spoiler review. But we're not going to go too deep into how it differs from the video game. That will be another episode a day or two from now, where we cover all the differences from the video game and the TV show. I might mention a thing or two throughout this, but it's not going to be like the full breakdown of what's different. So this is just going to be the spoiler review of the episode as a standalone episode itself, not relating to a video game or anything else. Just looking at this episode on its own. How is this as a standalone episode of a TV show? All right, so let's get it into it. Again, this is Season 1, Episode 2, Infected, directed by Neil Druckman, by the way, the writer and director of the video game, gets in here and directs an excellent episode of a TV show. And this one, we open up in Jakarta, Indonesia, September 24th, 2003. So we know that this is, 2 days before the outbreak that we see on September 26th, Joel's birthday, over in America, right? We see, we open up, they're in a restaurant. We see a couple of military men come into this restaurant and asking the hostess some questions, and we see her point to the back. And at this point, we see a lady sitting there. The military comes over and picks her up, and they're taking her somewhere. She doesn't know where she's going, so she's like, "Am I in trouble?" And they're like, "No." She's like, "Well, maybe you have the wrong person then." They're like, "No, we have the right person. You're the mycology professor, right? We got the right person." So they know who she is. They know who they're looking for. She just doesn't know why yet. So she's taken to a lab, and they tell her, "Okay, we need you to look at this." One of the other scientists working in that lab there is about to tell her something about the sample that she's about to look at, and the military man is just like, "Nope, let her come to her own conclusion." They don't want her to know anything or have any prior knowledge. They want her to look at this and come up with her own conclusion. So she sits down, she looks at the slide, and already right away she's kind of like, "Hey, why did you prepare the slide this way in the first place?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we prepared it like that because it was a sample. That's the correct procedure for taking a sample when it's from a human." And then, she's like, "Okay, that's weird." She looks at it, and she recognizes that it's cordyceps, and um, that isn't right. That can't be possible because the cordyceps are not supposed to be able to live at the body temperature that humans live at. And then we see her. They take her to an exam room where there's a body of a woman. We see the doctor's name is Ratna, by the way. She's now in like a full bodysuit to keep her protected from any sort of infection. And so she's taken to the body, examine it. They tell her to look at this at the lower left leg. She looks at it. She takes a scalpel, she cuts into it. And when she cuts into the skin where there's a bite mark, she sees the cordyceps, this fungal growth underneath this woman's skin. She takes some forceps, goes into the mouth of this woman, and pulls cordyceps out, and she looks at them and instantly freaks out, drops the cordyceps, and runs out of there. So then we see them in what looks to be like some sort of lobby. She's sitting down with some tea and talking to this man from the military, and she's asking questions. Right, it's like she wants to know when did this happen? They know that it happened about 30 hours ago. Um, where did this happen at? It happened at a grain mill. Shout out to everybody, by the way. Uh, all the fans out there in the on the internet community coming up with you noticing that in episode 1 that something was up, right? That Joel on Atkins. They wanted pancakes, didn't end up having pancakes. They wanted cake, didn't have cake. So all this stuff with like flour and grain stuff, right? That is getting avoided in episode 1, and Sarah not taking cookies from the neighbors, like all this stuff that gets avoided by our main characters of episode 1 with flour and grain, and people were like, "Oh, it's going to be spread by the food," and here we see the doctor, they tell her that that this started at a flour and grain uh mill, and she says, "Oh yeah, that's like the perfect substrate for for these cordyceps." And so anyways, we find out this woman was bit, and then she attacked some of her coworkers. They locked her in a room, and then the police had to come in, and this woman attacked the police, so they shot her in the head, and that's how she ended up being on their table. And then she asked the Ibu Ratnu, she asks, well, what happened to the other employees that she bit? And they said, well, we took them in and observed them for a couple of hours, and then it became necessary to execute them. So we know that they got infected pretty quick, and because we have this knowledge from the future now that yeah, this happens fast. They get infected and turn really fast, and then nobody knows um, who bit this lady, and they know that there's 14 people missing from the plant now. So chances are there was just the one person that bit this lady that nobody knows who it was, that they're still out there, and that the 14 people who have gone missing from the plant, they're likely infected too. So there's already a good amount of people out there spreading this infection around. And then so the military guy, he's telling the professor, hey, we had you look at this because we need your help. We don't want this to spread. We want to stop the spread. We need medicine. We need a vaccine. And she just says it straight up. Hey, I've been studying these things all my life. There is no medicine. There is no vaccine. So the guy's like, all right, well, what do we do then? What do you suggest we do? And this was just so, again, and I got to correct myself from the instant reaction, right, where I said, oh, this episode is very just based on our three characters, that's what the episode is about. But we have to give big props to Christine Hakim playing Professor Ibu Ratna here. She did heavy lifting in just like this short intro scene, flashback scene that we get in the beginning, right? Because here, we see her. She's like visually nervous, like I said, she was holding that tea that she was drinking, right? She's shaking. You can see her hands shaking, trying to bring the tea to her mouth, and then when she said it's down, like her hands are still like trembling as she's like putting the tea down to tell this guy what needs to be done. And she just pauses, and then just a single word, bomb. That's what she says, bomb. And bomb this whole city and everyone in it. And she's already welling up with tears, and then she says, please excuse me, I want to go home and be with my family. So she knows, she gets the heaviness of what she just said, and that she knows that includes me and my family too. And this this thing that is infecting us. There really is no cure or vaccine from it. There's just we're screwed. You're gonna have to bomb this whole city, and that means I need to be with my family because this is the last moments I'm gonna get to be with my family, possibly because that's I'm telling you that's all there's left to do is to bomb this whole city, and that's how they're gonna stop the spread of the infection, right? It's just so heavy. Um, and again, just an amazing performance by Christina Keen here. And then, that's our opening. We get uh, our opening intro theme here, and then when we open back up, we see Ellie. She's like sleeping in like this little patch of grass and looking pretty peaceful, right? And then she wakes up, kind of looks around, and then there's Joel and Tess wide awake. They've obviously been awake watching her all night long, and they're pointing guns at her. So she's like, okay, good morning. She's like, okay, what's up? Obviously, I didn't turn, so you know I'm good here. They want to see her wound. She shows them, and to me, not only did it not get worse, to me it visually looks like it's healing and better. To me is how I took it. Um, she's got to use the bathroom, so um, they got some questions for her first. So Tess is like, hey, uh, I gotta know first. What's so special about you? Why didn't uh, why didn't Marlene shoot you when she knew you had been bit? You had been infected. She's like, look, I'm not infected. And they're like, okay, look, uh, you're gonna have to tell us what makes you special because, oh, you know what? This actually happens after she went to go use the bathroom. Joel and Tess, they're talking about how she hasn't turned in, and Tess is feeling like, hey, this is our best shot to get the battery, our best shot to um get the things that we want. So let's just take her to the fireflies like they want. That's going to be the easiest way because Joel he's thinking like this girl's bitch. She hasn't turned yet, but she's going to turn. So we're gonna just have to shoot her and kill her, or we'll take her back to the QZ. And that's where Tessa's like, no, we can't do that because they're gonna take her back and shoot her once they see that she's been bit, and then we're back at nothing. So this is our best shot. This is what we have to do right now. Then this is when Ellie comes back from the bathroom, and Tessa's like, hey, you need to tell us why the fireflies want you so bad and why they didn't kill you. And this is where Ellie's like, well, I can't tell you. And Tess is like, hey, if we're going to help you out here, we need to know what value you really have. So Ellie's all right, okay, fine. They got this. Fireflies have this base out west. They have these doctors that can work on a vaccine. And I'm the key to it. And Joel's like, "Hey, we've heard this a million times before. There's no way this is real. This isn't going to work. This is a waste of time." And Tess, she wins out the argument here, saying like, "Hey, it doesn't matter if it's real or not. The Fireflies thinks it real. They think it's real, and you know." Whether it's real or not, if we do our job and deliver her to where she needs to go, we get what we want. So this is what we need to do, and Joel goes ahead and goes along with that. That's what they decide to do. That's what they're going to do. Let's see here. With the next scene, we see them going outside, and obviously the city has been, again, we are in Boston, and it is just absolutely destroyed, right? uh, Buildings blown up, falling over, leaning on each other, just rubble everywhere, uh, plants over, overgrowing buildings and whatnot. And so they're just walking along, and um, you know, uh, Tess wants to know where Ellie got, where she was when she got bit, and Ellie says, "Hey, I was in the old abandoned mall building." Um, and uh, so um, Tess is like, "Okay, was anyone with you?" She's like, "No, I was by myself." You can kind of tell that she's clearly lying here. And Tess is like, "Well, do you have anybody that's going to be coming after you? You got mom, dad, boyfriend," and Ellie is like, "No," and no. She clearly doesn't have a boyfriend, and we're gonna see why pretty soon. I'm feeling like that's gonna be coming up in the episode soon. Um, also as they're walking along here, Ellie's like asking about infected, and she wants to know, so, there, I thought when we were going to be outside the quarantine zone, that it was going to be just like running rampant with infected out here, and be crazy. And they're like, no, it's not exactly like that. And she's like, well, are there like these big huge ones that like throw exploding spores at you that infect you? And they're like, Tess is like, well, I hope not that. And then she says, then I hear there's ones that have like split open heads that can't see, but they hear like bats. And then Joel and Tess, they look at each other. They don't say anything, but clearly like worried, like yes, we have encountered those, and it's not good. Um, so they end up, um, you know, they're going this way here because they need to get through the Capitol building, right? And it's a straight shot, but the straight shot is, sure death is what they say, but they're going the long way, um, to hopefully avoid infected. And then uh, they decide they need to go through the hotel first so they can get up on the roof so they can get a good view of everything. And they get to the hotel. You could see that when they get in there, it's been flooded, and Ellie here is worried because she can't swim. It becomes like a little funny interaction here between Ellie and Joel, because Joel's already standing in the water and he's like, "Are you serious?" And Ellie's like, they don't got pools in the QZ," and he's like, "No, that's not what I mean." And he kind of like jumps to show that the water's only like knee high. Um. So they get going through here. Um. Uh. Ellie, again, this is just some great scenes that we get out of Bella Ramsey here. We see her being playful. She's like pushing the bellhop cart around. She pushes it. It's like a rotted skeleton comes like flying out of the water from that, and then she does find a fresh body that has been um, killed pretty recently. Right, and then let's see here. Yeah, yeah, and then it hasn't been turned or anything yet, though. I think because it's in the water. Let's see here. And then they get going the normal path that they normally go through this building. It's something else has fallen on it. It's blocked. Um, so they all can't get through. So Tess is going to squeeze through here. Go ahead and go find another way to unlock one of the other doors so they can get around. This leaves some time for Joel and Ellie to get, wait behind. They get some small talk in here. Hope we see them, building their, it's just building their little relationship that they're gonna have. Um, so Ellie has some questions about infected. Like how long do infected live? And Joel says that the infected, could be 1 or 2 months, but some have been around for like all 20 years. So some of them literally last decades and possibly more. They've been, some of them have been around since the very beginning. Tess finally comes back, opens up a door for him, and that gets them to the roof. As they get a view that they needed to see of everything, they see that there's a lot more infected from the last time that they came through, and we see that like the clouds, it's cloudy out, and we see kind of the clouds like rolling through. So you see the sun going, I don't know, like making a wave on the ground, right? Of all these infected that are outside, like laying on the ground, and they all kind of like react to that sunlight in a negative way. They're kind of like rolling in pain away from it. So that's something to take note of, that they don't do so great in like the heat and sunlight, right? Let's see. The Joel also says, that the infected, that they're all connected. Like you can have a cordyceps patch that could be connected underground and run for miles, and that can alert the other infected to wake up. So it's like a hive mind. Like you step on a patch or step on one that's connected to the hive, it's going to alert however many are connected to it, for however many miles, and they're all going to be on top of you to that location. Just like we saw with recently in Stranger Things, right? With Vecna, right? You touch that vine stuff, and you could feel you there. So this is how the cordyceps fungal patches work as well, which we know they took that again from real life. That's how like a lot of these like underground, like big mangrove trees and fungus actually work. So to me, that's a pretty cool feature that they added in here. Again, this is a TV show thing, and not a game. So I like how they did that here. Okay, let's see here. Let's keep going. Um, they decide they have to cut through the old museum, and so they get to it. It seems like there's a lot of cordyceps growing on it, but they've, like I said, it seems like the heat and sunlight could possibly have a negative effect on the fungus, because it seems like it's pretty dried out, and Joel doesn't seem to be too concerned touching that, or having to go through there with all the dried out, what seems to be the dead fungus on it. Obviously, still concerned, but not so much that they're not willing to go through. Um, Oh, you know what? This is where, that's why I got confused. Yeah, so they just had the skeleton in the hotel earlier. This is where they see the man, fresh body, right? When they're inside in the museum here, fresh body, been killed, but he hasn't turned yet. And this is where Joel's like, "Hey, I feel like this is something they should have told Ellie earlier, but they're like, hey, now we need to be silent, not quiet, silent. Um, and um, we see the clickers here. The first time we see the clickers, the ones again, just as Ellie described them, the cordyceps, the fungus, is just like split out their head. They cannot see at all, but they can hear using echolocation like bats. Um, and they end up in a room with the clickers, and the of course a whole bunch of debris falls down behind them, so they're stuck in this room with them, right? Um, and they're again they are being silent, and uh, I think it just takes like a breath from Ellie, right? Like a taking a deep inhale of breath that triggers the uh, the clickers here to notice them, and then we get this great action scene. Again, I like here in the TV show that they match the intensity and the suspense that you get from playing the game in this scene. Yeah, we don't need a ton of. I kind of like that. Like Ellie said, I thought they were going to be running all over this city, and they were going to be around everywhere. I like that we didn't get that because in it really ramps up the anxiety that you have in this scene. It's not just like, oh, we've been dealing with them all episode. This really ramps up the suspense of this scene because we haven't been dealing with it all episode. This is the first time we see them, so now it really jumps out at you like, oh no, what is this? And look how insane these things are. Look how insane they move, how insane they look, and uh, you know, we have to be super silent. But when we get those moments where it, they hear something, the intensity just ratchets up, tenfold, and yeah, it really makes for really suspenseful scenes here. Um, let's see here. I think what happens here, Joel ends up like stepping on some glass, right? And this triggers the clickers to figure out where he is. Um, he's like got a clicker all over him. He's fighting it off. Uh, Tess comes through, shoots it. They end up taking this clicker out, right? So they get this clicker taken out. They kill both of the clickers, and they're able to get to the roof. We get up to the roof, and Ellie reveals that she has been bit yet once again. And once again, no infection is happening. It's looking more real, like she is immune to this thing. We see that Tess says she's got a busted ankle, but they got to keep moving, right? She seems to be in kind of a hurry. They need to get to the they need to get to the Firefly base, but they are all dead when they get there. So they get there, you know, uh, they're concerned that doesn't seem like anybody's around, and it's because they're all dead. Uh, as they're like kind of inspecting everything that's inside the building and inspecting all the people that are in there, Joel remarks that one of them was bit, and then they all lost the fight here. So obviously, one got bit, got infected, started spreading it, and then they all had to fight each other, and everybody in that building was taken out. They're kind of like rummaging around, looking for weapons, seeing anything they can use. There's no battery or anything there, so looks like they were kind of screwed out of a battery. But maybe there's some weapons there they can use. But he says, it's over. They should go back home now. When Joel says that, Tess gets angry. She's like, she's not going back. That's not her home. And Ellie's the one who notices the uh, the emotion from Tess here, and Ellie is like, "Oh shit, she's infected," and uh, yeah, Tess reveals she was infected, and I feel like this was another great acting in this scene here, right? From Pedro and Anna Torv here, right? We get because when Ellie says this, um, we see the look on Tessa's face where she's like, "Yep, the girl's right," and then Joel's like, "Show me," and she starts to take a step towards Joel so she could show him, and he flinches, he backs up, he's like worried, he's like, "No, like, don't even come near me. If you're bit, and you're infected, I don't want to get infected too." So he backs up and flinches. So she kind of like angrily pulls her collar down, right? And we could see that the infection is going up her shoulder and up her neck. So we see this is why she is like in a rush to get this girl where she needs to go and what they need, because she knows like she's out of time. Um. And then of course, one of the dead fireflies here. He's obviously infected now. Starts to move. Joel shoots it, and then we see like this like the creepy tendrils of the fungus cordyceps here, like that are wrapped around the fingers of this person, and that sets off the whole network, right, of the wood wide web here, the fungus wide web. They all feel it. That big, huge patch of um, infected that we saw outside earlier, that were all rolling around in the sun. They're all going to know where to go and where to react. So they're all on the way. Joel's obviously dealt with this before, because he's like, oh, they're going to be here in 1 minute. And starts Tess is like, she goes into action. She blocks the door. She starts spreading gas. She throws a bunch of explosives on the floor, and she tells Joel like, "Hey, you need to save this girl. Like she's the key. Like and if even if you don't believe she is, like, it's possible that she could be. And I'm not asking you to feel the things that I feel." And again, I feel like this was like great setup to show just how disconnected Joel is from the rest of the world. Right? We've seen so many things. We've seen him like throw a dead body of a child into a fire. We see that he's like, obviously him and Tessa are in a relationship, but he's not like, intimate with her in an emotional way. And now we see her telling her, "Hey," Tess is telling Joel like, "I know you don't feel like you have this emotional wall, right? But I never even asked you to feel the same way I feel, but I'm asking you to do this for me, because there's got to be something there where you have to have some sort of humanity inside you. I'm asking you to do this because there's hope. There's a chance that this, this wouldn't be happening. This doesn't happen. It doesn't need to happen to somebody else. It's happening to her, but she's thinking of a world where it doesn't have to happen. Maybe this girl is the key to some sort of vaccine. So you really should get her to the Fireflies, so that there's a chance that this could right all the wrongs that we've done. As Tess said, or Tess had said earlier in this episode, that her and Joel aren't good people, that they've done a lot of bad things. And, maybe doing this would be a chance to right some of the wrongs, or, a lot of the wrongs that they've done. And she tells Joel, save who you can save. And right now that's Ellie, and, possibly more people, but right now it's Ellie. So you need to leave. You need to go with Ellie. You need to save her. And yeah, Joel does. He takes Ellie's hand, starts dragging her and running off with her. Ellie is like, she like she said, she's got no significant other. She's got no parents. She's an orphan. Uh, you can kind of tell in this episode that she had been connecting with Tess. She had started connecting with Tess, so like she's upset. She doesn't want to leave Tess behind. But there's no other choice. Um, that's what they got to do. And then we get like this scene that is the most talked about scene that on the internet right now for any TV show, and everybody's talking about it. We get the scene. All the infected arrive to the building. All the gasoline spread on the floor. The grenades, they're on the floor. Tess is holding a lighter. She's trying to light it. She can't get it lit. She is panicking. If you listen to the Last of Us podcast, the official podcast by HBO, and it has Craig Mazin, Neil Druckman, and Troy Baker, the voice of Joel in the video game. By the way, he's the one doing the interviewing. But they say in this, in the most recent episode, talking about this television episode, that Tess here, she's kind of starting to give in to the infection and give up hope. She's just starting to lose her humanity here, so she's kind of the lighter's not lighting, so she's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna be a part of this now. And all this infected running the room, they're kind of ignoring her at first, or just don't notice her. Either way, then we see one, it notices her and walks up to her, and we see the tendrils coming out of its mouth, locks lips and with Tess. And Tess here, just the last little bit of humanity she has, and hope that she has, she instead of just giving up and giving in, she gets that lighter lit. And next thing we see, big explosion from the outside of the building from Joel and Tessa's point of view. So Tess, obviously able to in sacrificing herself, also takes out a lot of infected. But yes, oh my goodness, what a scene that, again, everybody's talking about. And again, they talked about it in the official podcast, that the infected, and this whole show is about love, right? So the infected, it's almost like they love too, and they see one of their own, because they see that Tess is infected. She's got it spreading in her, and I almost kind of see it like, yeah, why wouldn't an infected, if it wants to? Because again, something else that got said earlier in this episode, a quote was that Tess told Ellie, like, yeah, you're not immune from being ripped apart, but when the infected makes out with Tess here, she's already infected, so no need to rip her apart and chew her up, right? It's just like, here, I'm gonna embrace you and turn you faster. I'm going directly into where I need to get to, straight to the dome, right, straight to the brain. So that's how I kind of saw that too. And as they said, the cordyceps, it wants to reproduce. It wants to make more of itself. It doesn't want to rip every human from limb to limb. It wants to make more. So that's what it's doing with Tess here. But yeah, oh my goodness, amazing end to the episode. We just see Joel and Ellie here. Just they're defeated in the moment, but they got to keep moving. So we see them moving on, and what a great episode it was. My goodness, again, for me, amazing episode, even better than the first episode. I'm getting really excited for the third episode because, again, like I said, this show is supposed to just keep getting better and better. And all the reviews I keep saying, it's like this third episode is just like out of this world. So to me, the first two episodes have been amazing. So if everybody's saying the third one's gonna be the best one, then I can't wait to see, uh, how good it's gonna be. If it's gonna be the even better than the first two, I'm just glad we're riding this wave of keep getting better and better every episode. But yeah, overall, uh, great episode to me. The acting, again, amazing. The scenes, amazing. The cinematography, the graphics, the idea that we used the practical effects for the clickers was just amazing. Yeah, overall, love the episode. Um, and again, just as a standalone thing, I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Couldn't ask for anything more out of this. I like that we got to see the interactions, small interactions between Tess and Ellie, and then we started to see a little bit between Joel and Ellie here. So just starting to build the relationship, because we know that they're going to be on a journey together. So we know they got to start building that. But yeah, I want to know what you guys thought of this episode. So leave it in any comments on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Again, I love that it's seeming like the theory was right that fans already had on the first episode, that the the infection was going to be spread through flour and grain, through food. So that if you have any sort of like just show related theories, I want to hear your theories. This is some great stuff. And then make sure you're subscribed, following, hitting the notification bell, whatever platform you're following on. Hit the button to make sure that you don't miss an episode, because we'll do an episode here where pretty soon, where we do a video game to TV show comparison for this episode. So you're not gonna want to miss that. Make sure you're subscribed. And again, leave me those comments. I want to know what you're thinking about it. And make sure you're telling your friends about this show. I saw that this episode like broke a record for HBO, for like the biggest growth from the premiere episode to the second episode. It went up like 22%. We know that last week's episode, the first episode, had like over 4 million viewers. This one, I believe it went up to like 5.7 for this episode. So I'm hoping that the show keeps growing, because as the show grows, that means that there's going to be more people to talk about it. And I could see that the podcast already, from the first, this podcast itself, from the first episode to the second episode, whether it's on YouTube and plus the numbers I'm getting on the podcast, it went up on the second episode here. So I'm hoping it just keeps going that way, so we can get more of you involved in the conversation and keep that going. But yeah, make sure you're doing all that. Love reviews, love comments. Really appreciate it. That's going to be the episode. Until next time, endure and survive.